blockage traffic, so now we're all settled in. My name is Brenda Little. I'm the chair of the LCCC Board of Trustees. And so on behalf of the Board of Trustees, welcome to this afternoon's public open forum to meet our second of three candidates, Dr. Luke Robbins. This is very exciting for us as trustees to see all of the interest that has been placed in this interview process and to see a room full of people who want to meet our candidates and get to know them. It's very exciting for us. We welcome and encourage your participation in this process. So you all should have received a couple of things, or a chance to receive them. One is some cards, some 3x5 note cards that we are using in order to ask questions. And then when you have your question written down, you can hand that to Melissa, who's standing back there in the back. It looks like she has a handful of questions, so she must have taken care of that already. And the second thing is some yellow pieces of paper. They give blue, they're blue today. Blue for boys. So we have a blue piece of paper today where you can write your comments about Dr. Robbins as you are listening to him speak. It is very important to us as trustees that we get your feedback on this process. So please listen closely and fill those out and tell us honestly and candidly what you think. That is more important than you know in this process for us to choose candidates for your college, our college, a big part of the community, and where many of us live many hours a day. So please do that. And I want to let you know quickly about what's coming up. This is our second candidate open forum. We had another one yesterday. We have our third next week. And then we as a board are going to meet on Wednesday, November 9th, to go into executive session and deliberate on the candidates. And then we plan on making a final decision on Wednesday, November 16th at our regular board meeting. We plan on voting at that time. So we have lots of time to hear your comments, and I want to make sure I point out the other board members in the room. Besides me, we have Carol Merrill, who's sitting there. John Kaiser, I know, is here because I saw him in the front row right in front of me. Ed Mosier, are you here? Yes, Ed is back in the back. And are there any trustees that are here? Well, you know who we are. Please come up to us at any time and let us know your feelings and thoughts about our candidates. We want to hear that. So please feel welcomed to come up and give us comments. I would first ask Dr. Robbins if he would spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes with some introductory comments and telling us a little bit about himself. And then we will take questions. Melissa will take the microphone and be asking questions that she has received from the floor. So please help me welcome Dr. Luke Robbins.
Thank you. Let's see, is this one working? Okay, let's go with this one first, and then we can switch off if we need to. Good afternoon. It's great to be with you today. My name is Luke Robbins. I'm Chancellor at Louisiana Delta Community College in Monroe, Louisiana. And for those of you who don't maybe know exactly where that is, if you picture the state of Louisiana as a boot, we're up in the northeast corner of the state, almost to the Arkansas border, and about 25 miles from the 30 miles from the Mississippi River. So we are up in, we're not called Louisiana Delta Community College by accident. We are smack in the middle of the Mississippi Delta. And our college serves 11 parishes in northeast Louisiana. It comprises collectively the second poorest congressional district in the United States. It is a very large region, pretty sparsely populated once you get outside of Monroe, which is where our main campus is. We also have two campuses in northeast Louisiana, right up in the Delta. One is in Tallulah, Louisiana. The other one is in Lake Providence. And since April of last year, I've also been serving as the interim regional director of Northeast Louisiana Technical College, which has an additional 5 campuses spread out over that 11 parish region. Together we have 8 campuses. We serve about 4,500 credit students this fall. We've been growing at Delta at a rate of double-digit enrollment growth for the 5 years that I've been at the college. This fall we had an 18% enrollment growth over last spring. And that's been kind of fairly average for the college and for our whole system. We're part of the Louisiana Community and Technical College system. Prior to being at Delta as the chancellor, I served as vice president for instruction and executive vice president at National Park Community College up in Hot Springs, Arkansas for several years. And that is a comprehensive community college. While I was there, we went through a merger with the Technical Institute, which was a real challenging, very interesting process to undertake. And we served about 3,800 students in that particular college. I've spent some time in Idaho. Your interim president, Miles LaRoe, was my boss at Eastern Idaho Technical College for 3 years. And I went there as the dean of instruction to that technical college after completing my doctoral work at the University of Texas at Austin. And some of you remember back in the day that I was a faculty member here at Laramie County Community College, and actually took a sabbatical from here and then a 1-year leave of absence to do that PhD work at the University of Texas. Came back here for a year and taught, and then went to Idaho for those 3 years. So that gives you a little snapshot of my professional career since some of you last saw me, at least. It's been a very rewarding process for me. I'm really pleased to be back here today. My wife and I, Mary Jane, a lot of you remember Mary Jane. We're just tickled to be back in town. We really see Cheyenne as a home to our family. Both of our sons were born here, and we remember fondly our time at the college here. We really believe that Laramie County is a great institution, and we're looking forward to coming back here and being a part of this institution and helping it move to the next level. I believe we got a great institution here. It can be even greater, and I hope to be a part of that. So that gives you a little bit of background information on me, and I know you've got lots of questions to ask, so I'm going to be quiet from that end and let you ask your questions, and I'll try to answer them as best I can.
Thank you very much. And for those of you who still have note cards and have questions, if you're thinking about them, feel free to wave them and I can come over and collect them. I have some to start off with, so I'm going to start with those. Okay. How will your years as an LCCC faculty member make you a better LCCC president?
That's a great question. I know where some of the skeletons are buried, I guess. No, that's not true. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think my time at LCCC as an instructor really cemented my belief that this is a great institution, and an institution is as good as the people that work there. It's not about buildings. It's not about programs. It's not about how much money is in your budget. It's how you deal with students every day. And one of the things that I learned as an instructor, I came here as a fairly raw instructor, not without a lot of experience teaching in the classroom. And I really cut my teeth, I guess you could say, as an instructor here, and learned a lot about how you deal with students in a classroom situation and outside the classroom. And what we do outside the classroom is just as important many times as what we do inside the classroom, and that goes for faculty, it goes for staff. But one of the things that I think I bring to it as having some experience being here as a faculty member is a real memory of a real strong sense of dedication to students and student success on the part of faculty and staff here. And to me, that's one of the really powerful qualities of this institution. Always has been, and I think it will continue to be in the future. And I'm looking at some faces that I know and remember, and I remember the discussions we had in classrooms and in offices talking about how do we help students get from where they're at to where they want to be and be successful. And that's been, I think, the goal of everybody here every day. That's why you come to work. It's why you do what you do. It's not for the big paycheck, right? It's for the other things that come along with that. And so I think my background as an instructor gives me some insight into the culture of this organization, if you will, the values that everybody holds, and I think those values are very sound.
Thank you. The next question asks, what 3 qualities do you believe a person in this position must possess?
That's a good question also. I think, 3 things that are really important in any leadership role. And these are things that I really believe on a personal level, not just on a professional level. I think honesty is a thing that's an absolute necessity. If you're not honest with people, people don't trust you. And being able to develop a relationship with people that's founded on mutual trust and respect is absolutely critical to moving an organization forward. If leadership don't trust each other, if they don't deal with each other in trustworthy ways, then that's going to be a problem for the whole organization. So I think honesty and trustworthiness is one thing. I think I've got, I think another element that's really critical to a leadership role today in community colleges in general, in Laramie County in particular, is having a good grasp on the issues that are currently at work in the community college world. We're dealing with a completion agenda that the Obama administration is really pushing pretty hard, that we need to be really focused on moving more students through our institutions to a certificate or to a degree. And we're very focused on that in Louisiana, and I think that's something that we've all got to be very focused on. Some of that has to do with dealing with some data that we need to be able to pull together, but it also, again, goes back to what I talked about earlier, and that is really meeting students where they're at and trying to get them from where they're at to where they want to be. So trustworthiness, having some focus on some of the bigger issues that are going on, and then I think a focus on strategic planning and being able to link strategic plans to moving the college where it needs to go. Strategic planning to me, and having a clear idea or a clear vision for what the college wants to be, and also some clear steps about how we're going to get where we want to be, is absolutely critical for leadership at this college, at any college. It's absolutely essential that we develop clear strategic goals and that we know what steps we're going to have to take to get from point A to point B. Everything that we do then gets linked to those strategic initiatives. Our budget should be based on our strategic goals. The decisions that we make every day ought to be based on our strategic goals. Everything that we do within the organization ought to be linked to that. How we build a master plan, how we build a budget, how we do new program development. All those things ought to be focused on getting a strategic goal accomplished. So we want to move from point A to point B. And I think that's something that is really critically important in today's leadership role, because I think a lot of colleges are sort of adrift a little bit. We're in the process at my home institution of trying to get a better grip on what our strategic focus is for the next 5 years. We've been growing so rapidly that we've been sort of running, looking at our feet, so to speak, okay? And now we've got a chance to kind of look up and look down the road and see where we're going to be. So, I think honesty and integrity and building good relationships is one, being focused on bigger issues in the community college realm, and then being really focused on strategic planning. And that strategic planning, again, goes back to what's right for students. The decisions we make ought to be based on a question we ask. Does this help students succeed? Does it help them get where they want to go? Does it help them do what they need to do? Or does it not? And we make our decisions based on that.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next question says, sound media cooperation is essential to this community college. How will you push for cooperation with the President's Office, trustees, and college as a whole?
Well, I think media relationships are I agree, they're really critical to moving a college forward. We have had, we've enjoyed really positive media relationships at Louisiana Delta. Part of that is because we're an emerging institution, we're growing, we're relatively the new kids on the block in our community. And so that tends to get you some press, you know, that's fairly positive press. But one of the things that we really try to do as well is we try to tell success stories. Part of what we need to be in the business of doing, I think, in community college is talking about the successes that we have through our students. And the best way to do that is to let students tell those stories. And so we try really hard to put students in front of the media whenever we can, who have had challenges in their academic careers, who are non-traditional students, who maybe wouldn't be in college if it wasn't for a community college. And we let them tell their stories. And we try to be very consistent in terms of telling positive stories. That doesn't mean we don't, that we gloss over when we have issues at the college. I mentioned to Carol that I was on TV in Louisiana on Tuesday before I came here. We've had a glitch in dispensing federal financial aid to some of our students at the technical colleges. And the media called and wanted to talk about that. So we spent some time on TV on Tuesday explaining what that situation was. And you know, I think, again, being honest and forthright with folks, being willing to say, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, but being upfront with folks is very important. And telling a consistent story. I think that's the other piece of good media relationships, is that you tell consistent stories among all the constituencies that you communicate with.
Great, thank you. How will you become visible among the student population?
When I become the president of the college, students are going to see me at basketball games. They're going to see me at volleyball games. They're going to see me at soccer games. They're going to see me at plays. They're going to see me at jazz concerts. They're going to see me both in those sorts of situations. And then I spend some time each week. I sort of build it into my schedule to basically get out of my office and just walk around and talk to students. I've been very active in getting our Phi Theta Kappa chapter up and running. We just did our inaugural induction this year for our first Phi Theta Kappa class, and that was a lot of fun to be involved in that. Students see me quite a bit on campus. Our campus is still relatively small, but I get out quite a bit. They see me on the elevator, they see me in classrooms, they see me around. One of the other things that I would look forward to coming back here is teaching a class. Again, I haven't been able to do that since I've been at Delta just because of the time constraints that I've been faced with and the fact that I travel quite a bit back and forth between Monroe and Baton Rouge, where our system office is. And I would really like to get in a situation, again, where I could teach a class. That's still near and dear to my heart, and I still like to be in the classroom and work with students. I do orientation sessions with students during our regular orientation session, but I'd like to teach a success seminar class or a developmental writing class or something like that again. So students would see me on campus, and I think they will. I think they would find me very approachable.
Nice, thank you. Morale and transparency are buzzwords on campus. How do you propose to get everyone, faculty, staff, administration, to be a part of the solution?
I think it's an excellent, again, an excellent question. The best way I can answer it, I guess, is by giving you an example that from where I'm at now. Our institution, as I said, is a fairly new institution. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary this year. We're still celebrating this fall. It's kind of an extended celebration. People in Louisiana like to celebrate things for long periods of time. We're still celebrating when the Saints won the Super Bowl, okay? So we're doing a celebration. But in the midst of that, let me also tell you some other things. Our faculty and staff have not had a raise in 3 years. 3 years. Okay? We've had a hiring freeze in place for 2 years, which we've been able to sort of work around in a couple of situations that we really needed to. And you would think, given that environment, that there would be some morale issues. Okay? Delta was voted 2 years ago in a community college week poll one of the great colleges to work for in their survey. And one of the reasons that faculty and staff listed as being a real reason that the college was a great place to work for was the open communication within the institution and the sense that when they had something to say, people listened to what they had to say. Doesn't mean they always got exactly what they wanted, but it meant that they were listened to, and they knew they had been listened to, and were valued for their input. And I think that is a real key to morale on a campus, is people feeling like they are respected and valued and listened to. And that would be something, as president, that I would work very hard at. Listening to students, listening to faculty, listening to staff, listening to the Board of Trustees, listening to external constituencies, because they have things to tell us. Not always things we really want to hear, but nevertheless things that we probably need to hear. And so I think that's a really important element in terms of dealing with morale and transparency. Speaking about transparency, with me, what you see is what you get. Okay? You're not going to find me any different 2 weeks from now than I am right now, except that I'm a little warm up here right now in this jacket. Okay? But I really believe in dealing very honestly and openly with people, and I expect them to do the same with me. And when we can build a relationship based on that openness and mutual respect, then good things happen in terms of communication, in terms of transparency, in terms of morale. So those would be some things that I think we could all work on as an organization, as a community.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with service learning integration into classrooms? And do you promote learning through service?
Yes and yes. And let me give you some an interesting and sort of perplexing example of that right now. We just we wrote a grant at the college for a machine called a Greenopolis machine. Pepsi, the Pepsi Corporation does this, and basically it looks like a vending machine, but it recycles, okay, cans and plastic, aluminum cans and plastic. And so we thought, we're trying to get a green initiative going on our campus. Recycling is not a big thing in Louisiana, and we're trying to sort of get out in front of it and be a pace setter in our community for recycling. And so we thought this would be a great idea. And one of the neat things about this Greenopolis machine is the students, it's got a keypad on it, and the students can fill out their name, and then they press a button, and it creates a key card, with a barcode on it. Okay. Then when they bring things to recycle, they scan their barcode, and when they put things in to recycle, they get credits on their account. And after they get so many credits on their account, they can use the card to, get a Pepsi, or, in other words, there's credit involved in it. Okay. And some of our faculty really latched onto this. So this is a great service learning tool. We can integrate this and start talking about being good, responsible members of our community. Okay. Now keep in mind this machine is the size of a Pepsi machine. Okay. We are emptying the machine 6 times, 8 times a day. More on Mondays after party weekends. You see kids literally coming into the campus with black plastic bags full of aluminum cans, and they have happy faces, you know, because they're recycling. We've created a monster, but it's a good monster. It's a great example of a service learning project you get into, and you're not exactly sure what you're getting into until you're there. That's one example that we're doing, that we're trying to work the kinks out of it. Our students also do service learning in local schools. I mentioned that we're in the second poorest congressional district in the United States. We also have one of the highest percentage of failing schools in the whole state of Louisiana, which ranks 49th or 50th in education to begin with. So you can imagine what we're dealing with in terms of young kids reading below grade level, all those kinds of things in grade school. And so every year our students adopt a grade school and volunteer to go out and tutor with students, and they do service learning and get credit for some of their programs that way. So I'm a firm believer in service learning. I really believe the service learning, it's really important that it be something that is really integrated tightly into that curriculum. You don't do service just to be doing service. It's got to have something very specific to do with that curriculum, but when it does, it can be a very powerful learning tool for students.
Okay, thank you. What will you do to reduce the number of students admitted who cannot read, write, or do math?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure what the answer to it is. It's an epidemic across the country. It's not here. It's 80% of our students who are entering, first-time students at Delta, remediate in math. 80%. Okay. Many of them are graduates of local high schools. There's no easy answer to how to fix that problem. There are any number of different. You can point at any number of different approaches to addressing it. I think one thing we have to do as faculty and as leadership at colleges is to open dialogue with our K-12 partners about what's actually happening in the K-12 classrooms and what's not happening in the K-12 classrooms. I think one of the things that we're dealing with in a lot of different places or in a lot of different areas is a disconnect in expectations, in the sense that K-12 people may not be real clear on what our expectations are of a student entering a freshman composition class or a college algebra class. And so they're not coming with the skill sets that they need to be successful in those classes. And part of that may be a curricular disconnect. Part of it may just be that we're not communicating real well what those expectations are. And so I think that's one of the things we have to start looking at. And I think we need to work together as instructors, as faculty, to address those issues. One of the things that really I think was a great concept for us when I was teaching here. I taught primarily developmental English, and then I also taught freshman composition. Our students coming out of developmental English had to pass a placement essay to get into freshman comp. Because I was teaching freshman comp, I understood what the expectations were of my fellow freshman comp teachers. I also had freshman comp instructors who were teaching developmental. They understood what they had to get covered in the developmental course to get a student ready for freshman composition. And part of it is working together to understand what those expectations are. When we were constantly talking about those things, we were able to get to a point where we knew what we needed to cover in a developmental English course to get them ready for a freshman comp course. Can you write a complete sentence? Do you know what a thesis is? Do you have topic sentences to your paragraphs? Do they all hang together? Okay? It was fairly simple stuff when you boil it down. But until you open that conversation, you don't surface those things. So I think that's one of the things that we've got to do with our high school neighbors, colleagues, is work together to address that issue. And that might involve some of us going out and actually spending some time in a high school classroom, seeing what's going on there, and talking to faculty who are down there in those trenches every day trying to get that instruction done. So I think those are some things we can do. I think you're never going to completely solve that issue. You're always going to have students coming to the community college who are not well prepared to be successful in college. It's part of what we do. It's part of what we do. It's part of why we're here. And we need to be very good at it and very proud that we do that and that we're very good at it. And I think we can be very good at it. So I think we work with our high school colleagues. We push for standards. We encourage standards. We help them develop standards. But then we also continue to do what we do in the developmental classrooms the very best we can do it. Because we're always going to have students who never finish high school, who come to us without a GED even, okay? Out of 100 students who start the 9th grade in Louisiana, 36 of them never complete high school. In some of the school districts we serve, 60% of them don't complete high school. So those folk are going to be with us. And we have to be able to provide effective interventions to help them get those skills up to a level that they can be successful at college level work. There she is.
Yes, sorry, I moved on you.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
I lost you.
What steps would you take to boost enrollment and encourage students to come back after their first year?
You know, one of the things that we haven't had an issue with enrollment at my institution for the last 5 years that I've been there, and even before I got there, because we're an emerging institution where we've just been growing very rapidly, and our whole system has been growing very rapidly. If you look at the national statistics, we're one of the fastest growing community college systems in the United States, and we're averaging double-digit growth every semester. We're really beginning to face some challenges with that because our budgets are beginning to be really constrained, but we've never really had too much of an issue with that. What our issue has been and continues to be is probably the second part of that equation, and that is how do you keep students once you get them? How do you retain students once you got them in the door? We can do all sorts of recruiting things to get students in the door. And there are all sorts of national studies and national techniques that lots of colleges are using to recruit students. We don't need to reinvent the wheel with that. Okay? Now, there may be some unique things that we want to apply to this particular college and to the kind of students that we attract to LCCC. That might be different from another institution. But there are lots of good models for recruiting students out there. Retaining students is where we can really make a difference in terms of our, to be just brutal, our bottom line financially, but also in the success of our students, which is the more important part. The research is really clear on students who are successful in community colleges and who persist and complete. And, The CCC data shows this. Any kind of data you look at will point to this. It is about that student forming a relationship with a person, an activity, or something related to the campus. It's engagement. If they engage, they're more likely to stay. We got a commuter campus, right? How do you keep them out of their cars? How do you keep them from coming in, getting out of their car, going to class, getting back in their car, and driving off? You're already doing some of those things. You're making your campus an inviting place to be, a comfortable place to be. That's really important to students. When we got ready to design our new building and we started talking to students, what are some things you really want in this new building? You know what the number one thing was? Some of you probably know this. Wi-Fi access everywhere. Wi-Fi access everywhere. So we have ubiquitous Wi-Fi. Any place on campus, you can log on with your computer or your smartphone and do whatever you do. Okay? Creates a whole set of issues in the classroom on test day. Put your phones away. Okay? But we decided that was something we needed to do. We stole a trick from some of the renovation that was done on this campus several years ago. When the business area was redesigned several years ago, one of the things everybody was talking about is we're going to create open space for students to sit down and study together that's close to faculty offices. Okay? We created pods of offices in our new building, faculty pods with a student lounge area in the middle of them with soft seating, low lights, carpet, all that sort of stuff, and that ubiquitous Wi-Fi. So students can come in, plop down there, start working on an assignment. If they got a question, they just go get their instructor. Okay? One of the things that students said that they really liked about our old campus, and our old campus was literally about 16,000 square feet. And we were serving 1,500 students out of 16,000 square feet. We had some faculty offices that we had 3 faculty members in an office, literally. And when a student would come to visit one of the faculty, the other 2 faculty would say, okay, it's coffee break time. And they would literally get up and walk out of the office because otherwise there wasn't any place for the student to sit down. But you know what students loved about the campus, what they said? I can find my instructors when I need them. The faculty are available to me when I need them. So we deliberately designed space, and our architects even came up with a name for it. They call it sticky space. Because students stick there. They stay there. Okay? And so we're encouraging and we're deliberately designing space on our campus that encourages students to stay, to study in groups, to work on a computer, to get their instructors when they need to, okay? But that contact and that engagement is absolutely critical. And I'm going to, let me back up just a minute and say something I think is really important about all of this. Faculty are critically important to that process. They are critically important to that process. The first day of class is the most important day of class. It's got to be a good day. It's got to be an engaging day. It's got to be a challenging day for that student that makes them want to come back. Okay? But here's the other part of it. They're going to meet 5 or 6 LCCC employees before they ever get to that classroom. And it may be the person who answers the phone. And if they have a bad experience with the person who answers the phone, guess what? If they have a bad day their first day of class, guess what? If they can't find their classroom, if they can't find a place to park, we have a challenge at our institution with places to park because we've grown so quickly. But one of the things we do the first day of class, we have student ambassadors in their little Delta shirts with a schedule and a button that says, "Can I help you?" Okay? And when the student walks in with the deer in the headlight look, you've all seen it. The lights are on, but nobody's home, right? Those students say, "Can I help you?" Well, I got this class. Okay, let me help you figure out where to go. Okay? And so we try to make it real hard for them to dislike their first experience with us. Now, everybody's got their issues, okay? They have their issues with the bookstore. They have their issues with, dare I say it, financial aid. And of course, the ones that are having the problems with financial aid are the ones who woke up on Tuesday and said, "I want to go to school on Wednesday, and I need a loan to be able to do that." But we do our best to try to deal with those folks too. Okay? But we're very focused on making that engagement happen so that students stay with us. And we're working very hard to improve our retention. Here's the other thing to think about, and again, this is the Machiavelli coming out in the conversation. It's a whole lot cheaper to keep a student than to recruit a new one. It's a whole lot cheaper to keep a student than to recruit a new one. That doesn't have anything to do with whether they're successful or not. Obviously, what we really want to have happen is we want to retain them to completion or success, however they define that. Okay? But that's really important for us. That's one of the things that we're really working at in terms of retaining students on our campus. We're doing that across the system, but we're really focused on it at Delta. There she is.
Thank you. I didn't move. How do you think student grievances should be handled?
That's an open-ended question. Here's how we do it. First of all, it depends on what kind of a grievance it is. An academic grievance is one sort of issue. Some sort of a personal grievance of some other sort. Name your grievance. Sexual harassment, any of those other sorts of things tend to take a different route in terms of the way we do things. We have real clear processes in place for dealing with academic appeals, and that's what we call it. Okay, if the student's having problems in a classroom, they can file a formal academic appeal. We start out with an informal process. So if a student comes and says, I'm having a problem with, Randy Fetzer's driving me nuts, okay? In my English class, he doesn't like me, he's out to get me. We all know what a curmudgeon Randy is. What a lot of students will try to do, as you know, their first tendency, especially if they're really upset, is they want to go to the top immediately, right? They want to short circuit the system and get something done right away. One of the things that we do as a matter of course, and we talk about this all the time, when the student comes with a complaint, our first question to the student is, have you talked to the instructor? Well, no. Okay, that's the first step. Talk to the instructor. I'm afraid to talk to the instructor. Okay, do you need someone to help you talk with the instructor? Someone can go with you if you need to go with someone to help you with that. Okay, so we try to do it informally first. Then it goes through a formal process where there's a written grievance, okay, and we have a committee made up of students and faculty that hear that academic grievance. And we'll make a decision one way or the other based on the information they have at hand. And that may include interviewing the student. It may involve pulling some other people in. They have the option, if they don't get satisfaction from that, to appeal it to the chancellor, to me. In 5 years at the institution, I've never had to deal with one. So I think the system, and that's not to say we haven't had them. We've had them. They've just been dealt with through the process effectively. Now, if we get into some, on the other side, with things that may involve at some point potential illegalities, that sort of thing, then that takes a different, again, it's a formal process that we start with, and then we make a determination at a certain point based on what kind of data we have in front of us, whether or not that would require us getting somebody else involved, like the police, like whoever. Okay? But again, it runs through a process. We have a joint student, faculty, staff committee that deals with those appeals. And those kinds of things tend to run through our student affairs office, okay, our Dean of Student Services. And that person has the responsibility to deal with those. Again, it can be appealed up. If there are some very clear things that are in terms of transgressions that have taken place, we have the option to suspend a student or to put the student on probation. And we do that from time to time. We try not to get it to that point, but every once in a while we have some that do progress to that point, and we do what we need to do.
Great, thank you. What advantages and disadvantages do you see from working here previously?
Okay. I think some of the advantages, for me personally, is I know about the community. Now, the community's changed since I've been here, clearly. It's grown a lot. There are some things out there on the horizon with, the oil shale and all that sort of stuff. And I can tell you, I'm familiar with fracking. I know what it means. I don't know how they do it exactly, but I understand the basics of the process because we've got natural gas deposits in northwest Louisiana that are being developed right now. And it's the same sort of potential boom situation that the state of Wyoming and northern Colorado are dealing with this oil shale. So, there's some things that I remarked to Alex when we were doing our tour. Some things are the same and some things have really changed since I've been here. But I think having some history with the institution does give me some understanding of some of the real core values that this college community has and some of the real values in this larger community of Cheyenne and Laramie County. As I said, my two sons were born here. They are, they can put the Wyoming native bumper sticker on their car with pride if they choose to do that. We love the time that we were here as a family and also professionally. I think we really gained from it. But to go back to those values, one of the reasons I'm excited about this job, one of the reasons that I really want to be the next president of Laramie County Community College is because I really believe that this college has its values in the right place. The people who are here are what make this community college what it is. And the people who are here care about students. They care about students. They're passionate about what they do. Whatever it is they do, they're passionate about it. And they share that passion with their students. And the students catch on to that. Okay? And I could give you this test. In fact, let me do it, okay? Remember the worst teacher you ever had. You can see their face, right? Their face immediately comes to mind. Do you remember their name? Some of you do because you've spent lots of time with this person. But if I ask you to remember the best teacher you ever had, It's immediate, right? And you know their name. And why were they your favorite teacher? Because they were passionate about what they did. And because they shared that with you. Were they your easiest teacher? Very few people, when you ask them that question, will say, yeah, it was that guy who gave me an A in algebra in high school and I never cracked a book. It's the faculty member that makes you work, that challenges you, but then gives you the underpinning you need to be successful. Those are the people you remember, okay? You remember the staff people who are kind to you, who treat you like a person when you walk in the door instead of another number. Okay? What's good customer service? You know? You all know what's good customer service when you go to a store and what's bad customer service. The good customer service is when they treat you like you. Okay? They treat you like a real human being. Okay? I believe that this college and the people in this college community have that. They share those values, and those things are important to them. And if you've got that going for you as an institution and as a community, there's no limit to what you can do. There's no limit to what we can do as a college in terms of helping students succeed and achieve their goals, as long as we keep those values real clear in our minds. And so I think, you know, having some experience here reiterates that. And nothing I've seen today changes my attitude about that. Nothing changes that. In fact, if anything, I'd say it's better than when I left. It's greater than when I left. And that's the kind of stuff we build on as we go forward as a college community. So I think that gives me some, you know, maybe some insight into the organization. Are we done? Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for the time. It's a great turnout. I'm really pleased at the turnout, and really appreciate your time, and I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Thank you, Dr. Luke Robbins. Thank you, Dr. Robbins, for sharing your insight and time with us. I think next up you have a meeting with faculty and staff, I think is next. Those of you who have the blue sheets of paper, would you please take a few moments to make your comments and then hand them in to Carol Merrill.
Good to see you.
She has her hand up there. Carol will be collecting all of those comment sheets. We are collecting them for all 3 of our candidates, and then we will put all of that information together and use that as a very big part of our deliberations about our candidates. So please take a few moments before you leave to get those done and hand them to Carol. Once again, thank you very much for being here and being part of this process. If you have anything else you would like to say to the trustees, we are going to be here for a few minutes. You can do that, or we are also available through email. So just let us know if there's anything else you need to say, and we will see you, if not before, again next week on Thursday. Thank you very much.